Ladies and gentlemen, I should like to welcome you on behalf of my colleagues from the Wienerberger Group most cordially to this year's press conference for the presentation of the 2013 results. The year 2013 for our group was a successful year, successful from a number of points of view. As you know from previous reports, last year was characterized by very difficult climatic conditions for the construction industry. We had a long, harsh winter with a lot of snow, even in parts of Europe where normally you wouldn't expect any snow, and that had an impact on the results for the first half of 2013. Flooding in large parts of Europe contributed to this difficult situation. Nevertheless, in the second half of the year, things were much better, and as you can see from the figures, we achieved a 13% growth in revenues to more than 2.6 billion euros. So in a difficult market environment, we achieved satisfactory growth. At the same time, we increased our EBITDA by 9% to 267 million euro. Again, a good step into the right direction as far as the profitability of the group is concerned. This shows that we have a business model that is well suited also to a difficult market environment. When you take a closer look, you will see that the restructuring measures which we had taken very fast, I think we were a pioneer in our sector as far as restructuring is concerned. So we took restructuring steps. At an early point in time, we achieved savings as expected, which helped us a lot in terms of profitability last year. Savings in the amount of 19 million allowed us to improve our business and our profitability. The program aimed at the sale of non-operating assets also went very well last year, and we generated income in the amount of 14 million. That is another step in the right direction. You may remember that we are planning to generate 100 million by 2016 from the sale of real estate. Last year we generated 14 million, so starting from 2014 we hope to generate 75 million by 2016, and we are making good progress along these lines. Another important point, in this market environment, we were able to reduce our net debt, a reduction by 63 million, and we are well below our internal target of the EBITDA ratio of 2.5. We are at 2 now, so we are making good progress. On this basis, we will propose payout of a dividend of 12 cents per share for 2013, unchanged from the previous year. Those were the highlights. Let us take a closer look at the market environment in 2013. As I said already, 2013 was a year characterized by unfavorable climatic conditions and this is another important point that needs to be underlined, essential markets of the Wienerberger Group were well below the level of the years before. In Eastern Europe, in Hungary, for example, in the Czech Republic and in Slovakia, the levels were below 2009 as far as construction activity is concerned. In Western Europe, the Netherlands and France, new housing starts and renovation activity were also below the level of 2009. That is a clear indication of the fact that the company is able to position itself well in a difficult market environment and has been able to gain market shares. On this map, you can see two things which I'd like to underline. England is growing. It's taking its distance from the continent, so to speak. This is due to the fact that the British government adopted a stimulus package intended to stimulate housing construction, new housing construction, because the government wants young people to be able to afford their own homes. That has stimulated the market, particularly in the second half of the year. Germany slightly underperformed our expectations. We had all expected Germany to grow as far as new housing starts is concerned, but Germany is more or less stable. This is due to the fact that the weather was particularly unfavorable last year, and the German construction industry simply did not have enough time to execute construction projects. This is why the level is not so high. When you look at the individual business units, the situation looks as follows. In the field of clay building materials in Europe, there are diverging developments. Volumes in Western Europe have been going down. This is mainly due to the Netherlands, Belgium, and France. Prices, however, have gone up, a positive development of prices. Wienerberger was able to pass on cost inflation to its customers. In Eastern Europe, however, despite a slowdown in construction activity, markets were stable because we pursued a proactive pricing policy. We were flexible as far as our pricing policy is concerned because what we were focusing on was market shares. In North America, volumes have been growing. We were growing with the market last year. It's reflected on a one-to-one basis in the figures. The figures we get from the United States, the forecasts we got last year, had mentioned more than 1 million new housing starts, but that was a bit unrealistic. The actual figure was around 920,000. So there was growth, but not as significant as originally forecast. We at Wienerberger think that this year the limit or the threshold of 1 million new housing starts will be exceeded, not drastically exceeded, but it will be exceeded to a certain extent, provided we have favorable weather conditions. Prices in North America came under pressure. As we communicated to you, this is particularly due to a regional pressure on prices from competitors in certain markets. Moving on to our new division, that is pipes and pavers. Pipe life is stable in terms of volumes. Certain markets, important pipe life markets, were weaker, like France and the Netherlands, but our project business was very good. Prices are stable. Steinzeug, as far as volumes and prices are concerned, had a very stable year despite a difficult start due to bad weather in Germany and Poland, which are two important markets for Steinzeug. Nevertheless, the year as a whole was good. Semmelrock There's been a lot of restructuring, and in terms of prices, it's been a stable development, but a decline in markets. An essential point needs to be made about 2013. We have done our restructuring. We've taken all the measures that had to be taken. There are still minor measures coming up for 2014, measures that have already been provided for in our program. And we will reach our savings target, that is 17 million for this year. But we have a very strong second leg to stand on. Wienerberger has a second division, pipes and pavers. That is a division which generates revenues in the amount of more than 1 billion and contributes 100 million in terms of EBITDA. So Wienerberger's diversification has been successful, and we have the potential for further growth. The North American division is contributing a relatively small share to revenues because the market has only just started to recover, but we take it that this is going to change in the future. I said already, revenues up by 13%, almost 2.7 billion, operating EBITDA of 266.5 million, up by 9% from the previous year, net debt down to just under 540 million, and total investments significantly reduced to about 107 million euros. This is because we had the acquisition of Pipelife in last year's figure as an investment, and this is why the number has gone down so significantly. Let me briefly summarize the new division. There is significant growth, which is due to the first-time consolidation of Pipelife in 2013. Strong growth in this division. EBITDA 100 million. That is a strong position. Pipelife is not as capital intensive as the clay block and clay roof tile business is, so this division is slightly above the hurdle rate of 11.5%. So we do have a strong and profitable second leg. Growth at Pipelife is due mainly to project business. The Western European markets were similar to the clay block markets. Considerable pressure in the Netherlands and France. Norway, Sweden, and Finland are important markets for Pipelife, and they showed a stable development. Let's move on to clay building materials in Europe. A very clear statement can be made there. The first half year was under strong pressure because of weather conditions. Prices were acceptable and positive in Western Europe. In Eastern Europe, we had to adjust our prices in order to conquer market shares. We succeeded in doing so, and altogether the division in the second half of the year reports a decline in revenues by only 3%. So that was a strong development, particularly thanks to the second half of the year. Unfortunately, the second half did not entirely make up for the declines in revenue in the second half of the year. We've made considerable savings as scheduled. All the measures we had intended to do were actually implemented, and we have an excellent basis for this year and for further developments in this division. When we look at new housing starts in the United States, there's been a clear recovery, a trend which stabilized in 2013 and which picked up in the second half, will certainly continue in 2014. The pressure on prices was due to regional competitors, and I expect a stabilization of the situation there as well. As far as plastic pipes go, we have a large plastic pipe plant in the south of the United States. We reached full capacity. We were not able to exceed the previous year's values. A slight decline was reported, but nevertheless, the market condition is very good. When you look at the results by divisions, you can see that pipes and pavers already account for 39% of revenues. Of course, clay building materials are still the dominating product. And as regards EBITDA, clay building materials do make a strong contribution. When you look at the breakdown by product group, it's even clearer. Wienerberger is doing very well as far as clay roof tiles are concerned. Situation is satisfactory also in clay blocks. We're suffering as far as facing bricks are concerned because of the underperformance of the U.S. market and also the Dutch and French markets. All the other markets have reached more or less a satisfactory level. Pipes and pavers are contributing to EBITDA according to our expectations. Let me now briefly show a few examples illustrating Wienerberger's positioning, which is different from what it was in the past. We have invested a great deal in innovation, in new systems. We have been thinking a lot about our total portfolio, and here are a few examples of successful performance in the market. Ceramic pipes by Steinzeug-Keramo are strongly positioned in the wastewater segment in Europe. Ceramic pipes meet highly demanding ecological criteria. We have been able to develop ceramic pipes which can be recycled fully, 100%. So as far as public tendering in Europe is concerned, we really have a great advantage because our pipes are fully recyclable. This is why we're doing rather well in international tenders. Here is an example from Poland, a large-scale project, 175 kilometers. We won the bid, and for the client, it was particularly important to find a sustainable solution. Semmelrock has also been doing quite well. This is the new main railway station, Central Railway Station in Vienna. We entered a bid based on a sustainable, future-oriented product with integrated guidance systems, a surface that is easy to clean, easy to maintain. Another example of high-quality Semmelrock products, Semmelrock pavers, which are easy to work with, and there is a great deal of interest in these products and revenues are growing. I mentioned our international project business with Pipelife. We are the largest supplier of very large pipes up to 2.5 meters in diameter. We won contracts in Africa. As you can see, it was a very successful year for us, and we have a sound basis for future growth. When it comes to energy efficiency in building construction, we've been doing a lot of research and development work, not only as far as products themselves are concerned, but also technology and production. Our infill plant, which was installed in our infill plants installed in Austria and Germany, helped us develop a highly advanced production line and a product that allows builders to build without additional insulation material. So this is suited for low energy buildings, for passive houses, for energy generating buildings. And we are also well positioned in multi-story building construction. This is an example from the west of France, where we opened a new plant a year ago. We were able to win a bid for a student hostel. The main emphasis was on cost efficiency and high quality insulation, thermal insulation and sound insulation. So we've been able to position ourselves well as a competitive building material also against concrete and wood. Here are some examples from Austria, an office building from the province of Vorarlberg in the west of Austria. This office building has no heating system. The building itself, which is made of clay blocks, is so energy efficient that you don't need any additional heating. There is an example from Finland. We also have good solutions for flat roofs. This is an example from Germany. And we were present also at the Olympic Games in Sochi. This is an example from our joint venture with Tondach. Let me move on to the results for 2013. You already heard about the results. Revenues plus 13% under difficult market conditions. The 13% comprise a 1% organic volume decline, mainly in clay blocks and mainly in Western Europe due to weather conditions. This is where we lost in volume in 2013. Prices, on average, were stable despite a difficult beginning of the year. We had such a long winter, you would hardly believe it this year, but last year we had winter conditions in a number of markets until the end of April, so prices came under pressure. Nevertheless, over the year, prices remained stable. In certain markets, we even succeeded in increasing prices. So it was a zero-sum game as far as prices are concerned. And like many other businesses, we suffered from the strong euro. Our revenues were down by 1% because of the FX effect, the strong euro against the dollar, against the ruble, against the Norwegian crown. That cost us 1%. And the additional 5 months of Pipelife consolidation. You will remember that in 2012 we acquired Pipelife as of the 1st of June, so it was consolidated for 7 months. In 2013 it was consolidated for 12 months. That is an additional 5 months, and that accounts for the 15% revenue change. So let's take another look at prices, because prices are an important topic. I think we coped with the situation quite well in 2013. Price increases in Western Europe, Eastern Europe. There we used the markets to strengthen our position through price flexibility, not in all markets, but in those that are important for us. That is Poland, the Czech Republic, and Hungary. In North America, Prices went down slightly from the previous year's level because there was a lot of competition in certain markets. We didn't want to lose market shares, so we reacted accordingly. And therefore, we're able to defend our market position. And in a growing market, it's important to sell off old stocks. And in the fourth quarter of 2013, we launched sales campaigns to get rid of all our old stocks of clay blocks because we wanted to create space for new production in 2014. At Pipelife, we pursued strict price management. The prices of plastic pipes are driven by crude oil prices because crude oil is the basic raw material. So you have to be proactive in passing on these price changes to the market, and we succeeded very well in doing so in 2013. We didn't suffer there. As announced in 2012, plants that had already been shut down in 2012, that continued into 2013. We had to mothball a number of plants in markets where we came under pressure, particularly in Western Europe. We said we want to save 50 million by the end of 2014. 18 million already in 2013. We exceeded the amount slightly. Our cost savings amounted to 19 million. So the 50 million target will be reached by the end of 2014. Sale of non-operating assets. In the clay block business in particular, we adjusted capacities to lower demand in the course of the crisis. When you think back to 2009, we had to close plants. In 2012, again, we had to close or mothball plants. And non-operating assets are about to be sold. That refers to both plants and to land. In 2012, our target was to generate cash in the amount of 100 million. We're doing so step by step. We've already generated 25 million in 2012 and 2013, and 13.6 million cash was generated through that in 2013. Assets worth 22 million were sold, so we are proceeding on schedule. We are not selling the family silver. We're not acting under pressure. We are waiting for the best possible point in time when we sell plants and real estate. A lot of real estate is located in Eastern Europe, and I don't need to tell you why we are hesitating when it comes to selling. That real estate is at good locations. It will be sold when the right time comes, and we will make our target by 2013. Here is our income statement. Revenues up by 13% to 2.6 billion. Operating EBITDA up by 9% from 245 to 266 million. Depreciation slightly below last year's level, and a positive operating EBIT of 55.3 million compared with 31 million the year before, up by 78% in a difficult year. In 2012, we still had high restructuring costs. I told you about the restructuring program, which cost us 43 million in 2012. That was a burden on our balance sheet. We no longer have that burden this year. And we have minor impairment charges to goodwill in 2012, no longer so in 2013. And you will remember in 2008 we made a provision for an impending antitrust penalty. We won't have to pay that penalty so we can release this provision. So when you look at the situation overall in 2013, we generated an EBIT of 65 million compared with a negative EBIT of 21.7 million the year before. After financial results, which were not as positive in 2013 as in 2012, that is due to the consolidation in 2012, which generated 42 million. If we hadn't had that, 2012 would have been at the same level as 2013. So we have a profit after tax for 2013 of minus 7.8 million in a difficult year compared with minus 14.5 million in 2012. So, considering all that, 2013 is a good result.
Two brief comments on two companies that have not been consolidated. We have two joint ventures, the first one being Tondach Kleinstetten, which is also included in the financial results, in our net results. We have a 50% participation. The other 50% are family-owned. Tondach Kleinstetten is a producer of clay roof tiles in Eastern Europe with 15 plants in 11 countries. Revenues about 155 million. In 2013, of course, Tondach also suffered from weather conditions. When there's snow, well, this impacts the roof tile business, of course. So Tondach suffered from weather conditions, and there was restructuring, and we adjusted the working capital. And that was a burden on the results for 2013. Then we have another joint venture in Bavaria producing clay blocks, top quality clay blocks with high insulation efficiency. This is the Schlagmann Group. Again, 50% are family-owned, 50% are owned by Wienerberger. Schlagmann has 4 plants in the south of Germany, and in 2013, revenues amounted to 60 million, again, not consolidated. They benefited from the strong market position in Bavaria. Bavaria is the richest region in Germany and probably also in Europe. So there is a lot of construction going on, and we are participating in this. A brief look at cash flow development. Again, in 2013, we succeeded in increasing cash flow, gross cash flow, by 37.2%. We are a strong company in terms of cash flow. We always manage to have a good cash flow despite difficult markets, despite difficult economic environment. Working capital, we got another 26 million. It was more last year, the previous year, from sales, but these were one-time sales. We have a very well-balanced working capital. We are prepared for additional growth. We invested, even in difficult times, 106 million. Here we succeeded in maintaining the level of 2012. This was not just maintenance investments. We also invested in a new filling plant. and improvements were made in several plants, so it's not just maintenance. And throughout the year we had free cash flow prior to paying out the hybrid coupon in the amount of 200 million. So, despite the slight loss for this year, we suggest to pay out a dividend 12 cent per share. And this is due to our strong cash flow. Total investment, I've already mentioned, a bit less than last year. The previous year, of course, there was the acquisition, Pipelife, and that cost us 150 million. Nevertheless, we invested another 106 million. That was normal capex. Strong balance sheet. We have a very strong balance sheet. Net debt amounts to 539 million. So it went down by 60% as compared to the previous year. Again, this is due to the cash flow. So we have a gearing of only 24% despite the crisis. Treasury ratios, very good. They are clearly above the covenants that we agreed on with the banks. And our target, the target that we set for ourselves, was net gearing to be below 2.5%. At the end of 2013, we stand at 12. So the financial discipline, which we observed throughout the crisis and continue to maintain, really helps us to make our balance sheet strong. Let me sum up. Our diversification strategy was effective and had an impact in 2013. We had a contribution, of course, from Pipelife. We could stabilize our results. Restructuring has been completed, and we sell off real estate on non-operating assets. Even in difficult markets, we have been able to generate a strong cash flow. So we decrease our debt faster than planned. So we are making progress. And we will suggest to pay out a dividend in the amount of 12 eurocent per share. And we expect cash flow rates to continue in the future. Now, an outlook for 2014, and I've regained my voice. Take a look at the map, ladies and gentlemen. You will remember that about 20 minutes ago, I showed you a map for 2013, and you can see a major difference here. This map certainly looks much more friendly, with the exception of North America and England, where there was a positive trend already in 2013, which will continue. Continental Europe also looks a bit more friendly. Also, we see major differences in Eastern Europe, and particularly the Polish market should develop more positively. We expect a plus of 5% in the single family housing market, and also positive trends in Germany. This is very important for us. Belgium should also show a stabilization of market developments. As regards market developments in Europe, we should also look at the Netherlands and France. There's still going to be a slight decline in the single-family house sector. So we see a slight improvement in continental Europe as compared with 2013. The RMI market, again, a bit more friendly, with the exception of the Czech Republic. We expect a stabilization or an upward trend throughout Europe. So we will invest more in new housing starts and also in RMI renovation. Let's take a look at the individual sectors. When it comes to clay building materials, Europe, there will be a moderate volume growth in the major markets, with the exception of those that I've mentioned. As regards prices, we expect that there will be cost inflation of about 2%. That is to say, we need a price increase of approximately 1.5% to compensate for that. We expect that in Eastern Europe it will be possible to make these price increases. So in Western Europe, in Eastern Europe, it is still a bit too early to make a forecast. But from today's perspective, we cannot really say how price developments will be in Eastern Europe. Cost reductions. Willy van Riet has explained our cost optimization program in detail, so this will yield another 17 million in 2014, and then the restructuring program, the cost optimization program, will be concluded, and we will report on developments quarterly. This will yield 17 million in 2014, and the total volume of cost savings will be 50 million. Real estate or non-operating assets, here again we will generate 10 million euros from the sale of non-operating assets. So here we expect sound contribution to the results of Wienerberger. North America. I've already mentioned growth rates of 15%. For new housing starts, we will benefit from that, and we expect double-digit growth rates. We have already mentioned the flexible price policy. There is some price pressure, and this will be carried over to 2014. And when it comes to pipes, we see and expect fairly stable earnings. And we expect to increase our capacities in the course of the year. Let's take a look at the second division of Wienerberger, pipes and pavers. Here we see a stable development in the major European markets, in the core markets. Western Europe, Austria are expected to show a stable development. The project business, which I've referred to previously, here we expect that we will not be able to achieve the revenues of the past. We will probably be slightly below the 2013 result. So in this sector, a slight decline is possible. Steinzeug, Keramo, we expect a very positive development for this year, an increase both in terms of revenues and volumes. The same holds true for Semmelrock. Here we expect stable or positive developments, and for Wienerberger as a whole, from today's perspective, we believe that we will again have an organic growth of EBITDA. This is important. and we should achieve 300 million. Again, this means a considerable improvement of our results. We expect another 10 million EBITDA contribution from real estate sales. 125 million will be normal capex. These 125 million include all the investments into new installations. I've mentioned the new filling plant. There will be improvements also in the pipe sector. So these are activities that are intended to improve our business results. 17 million in cost savings have already been mentioned. So this will provide us with a sound, solid basis for further growth. Broadening our core business has meant that Wienerberger today has a second strong core business. Our restructuring measures have been completed. There's operational excellence in all divisions. We focus on product innovation, and as a result, we are gaining market shares. We will continue to focus on that. Wienerberger provides new product solutions year after year. We will continue with our portfolio optimization, and we have a clear strategy that is focused on growth in all business units. This is a strategy that we will continue to implement in the coming years. Thank you very much, and Willi and myself will be available for questions. Thank you very much. I have two questions. You said that with pipes and pavers, Wienerberger now has a strong second leg to stand on. Is there an option for a third leg to stand on? And my second question, how were insulation-filled clay blocks accepted by the market? Let me answer your questions. You've seen that with our second strong leg, we have achieved sound growth. We are not reflecting on a third or fourth leg to stand on, so to speak. Wienerberger is well positioned, both in the clay block business and also with facades. Let me also add that we have a number of niches where we expect to grow or where we see a growth potential. And this is something that we should utilize. Your second question, the insulation-filled clay blocks, they are very well accepted by the market. Willi mentioned Germany. Here, the market share of these insulation-filled blocks is higher than that of traditional products. People who build a home today are not only thinking about cost optimization, they are also thinking about sustainability. And we are in line with this trend, and we expect that this new generation of clay blocks will continue to gain market shares. I also have two questions. Could you perhaps briefly sum up your statement? You said cost losses were reduced to 7.8 by 63 million. How did you manage to achieve this result? Well, the operating result is better. Well, could you explain this? You talked about EBITDA, diversification strategies, etc. Could you use simple terminology? So which countries were particularly successful? Well, we did a better job. We had a better utilization of our plant capacities. we could reduce costs, which is very important. We invested in our restructuring programs previously, and we sold more of our stocks. This meant a decrease of the working capital, and that, of course, had an impact on cash flow. You earned more. You made higher profit. Yes, this is correct. When you look at the balance sheet, we have 500 million cash. My second question. The construction industry is usually an indicator for economic developments. So can we expect an economic upswing? Well, you should bear in mind that in many European markets, we are still at crisis level or below that level. So a moderate growth rate is already something very positive. I would not be overly cheerful or optimistic. It's a positive indicator. You are right. Take Hungary, our neighboring country, for instance. There was an 85% decline in new housing starts compared to the years before the crisis. And there's a further decline. There will be elections in the first half of the year in Hungary, and we will see whether things will improve afterwards. We are starting from a very low level. When we talk about 2% growth rates, well, you have to bear in mind that we start from a very, very low level. Even in countries like England, we are starting from a low level. There was not a great deal of construction going on in England, even before the crisis. So now things are moving somewhat. But, of course, this is a very positive signal because it means creating jobs, it means creating a positive climate. The French tend to say if the construction industry is doing well, all the other industries will be doing well. So this positive development certainly will have an impact on the entire economy, but we are starting from very low levels. The insulation-filled clay blocks were not new in 2013. They were introduced before that. But last year, you had a new product, clay blocks filled with hot water. You didn't mention that. Well, let me correct you. We have a number of new products. These are introduced or launched in a few countries at first. They are tested and tried out there. The actual launch of the insulation-filled clay blocks took place in Germany in 2013. We also plan to introduce it in other markets, Czech Republic, for instance. Regarding the second product that you mentioned, here again, there are positive developments in a limited environment. It's a top-quality solution for buildings requiring top-quality products, and there's good market acceptance. Of course, it's not the preferred solution for social housing projects. Single-family homes, yes. Are there any strategies, for instance, cooperating with building companies? Also in the pipe sector, there is a market. Well, every building actually uses a mix of building materials. We, of course, cooperate with the construction industry, architects, the entire construction sector. So we are focusing on training, of course, and also on new applications. My second question refers to shares. It's clear that in 2013, share value increased. What is the explanation for that? Well, as you know, Wienerberger is a company that depends on overall economic developments. This is a characteristic of the construction industry. So the North American market, the English market, and the European market have somewhat recovered. And this, of course, had a positive impact on share value. This is my personal interpretation. Regarding performance, we had a plus of 66% last year, a very good performance, way above the ATX. Wienerberger is not viewed as an Austrian company. 60% of our shareholders come from the Anglo-American region, and they look at our performance worldwide, not just at Austria. And third, with the new positioning of our company, which Willy and I have tried to explain, with our second strong leg to stand on, the market has now come to recognize what Wienerberger is aiming at, what course we have chosen. And this became visible in 2013.
In 2012, your plants were working to 60% of capacity. Has that gone up, and by how much? In 2013, how many plants are still mothball, and will the members of the managing board receive a bonus this year? Capacity utilization in 2013 was not higher than 2012 because there was a long standstill period because of the long winter, and we were able to reduce our stocks and our working capital, so we were still working at 60% of capacity. Mothballed plants, I think 15 plants are still mothballed, not in Austria, but all over the world. This is the same. It happens in Austria, in the United States, in Eastern Europe, and in Western Europe. Will there be a bonus this year? I think yes. Well, that is an issue for the supervisory board. Of course, we have criteria that have been published. Yes, there will be a bonus if you do your calculations on the basis of our criteria, but let me tell you that we were one of the first Austrian companies that introduced a sustainable bonus structure. The bonus that would be due to us will not be paid out fully because we have to reach the criteria also in subsequent years. And I think that's a good thing. We have a sustainable policy also in terms of bonus payment. So it's a sustainable program. The criteria have to be met for a period of 3 years for bonuses to be paid out. What exactly is the insulation-filled brick called? So it's called Porotherm WI. I'm afraid the speakers are not using a microphone now. Well, you will receive a full set of product documentation. So you can build office buildings that need no heating system? Yes, that's true. Services and facilities for such buildings are extremely sophisticated and cost-intensive, very expensive to build and to maintain. And therefore, architects and designers are interested in buildings where you don't need to spend too much on maintenance. And this type of office building set up in Vorarlberg is one of those buildings. It was our product. The building was made with our products. It was an Austrian architect, an Austrian designer, and Wienerberger clay blocks. Sorry, no microphone again. the clay blocks storage capacity is high enough to eliminate the need for heating. Yes, we try to go along these lines to a growing extent, and this is why we showed you examples of products and applications today. We are working in an industry that has not only flagship products, but thousands of applications and implementations every year. More than 150,000 houses are being built with Wienerberger products every year. So we are making an essential contribution towards increasing the energy efficiency of new buildings in Europe. In recent years, Wienerberger raised money in the financial market a couple of times, and I think a major redemption is due this year. Do you consider the possibility of raising money from the market again? Well, before my colleague answers, let me say that we don't collect money in the financial market, as you said. It costs us money to raise capital in the financial market. But over to Willy now. Well, this is exactly my point. It costs money to raise capital in the market. But we've been future-oriented, and we've made sure that the redemption is fully covered. The amount to be redeemed in 2014 is fully covered by the bond issued in 2013. Another bond issue will mature in 2015, and that will be fully covered. We'll have to wait and see how the situation develops. If it's still favorable, we may go to the market to raise additional money. So you don't have a set plan for that. We have a very high level of liquidity. A follow-up question? Sorry, no microphone again. We are going to invest 125 million in 2014. This is 20 million more than in 2013. It's due to the fact that a small number of projects were postponed into 2014, but things like infill plants, we are building such a plant in the Czech Republic. That costs money. And in the United States, we don't have enough capacity for pipes. This is why plants have to be expanded and new equipment has to be bought. That costs money. We're spending money on that. Any further questions? If that is not the case, we'd like to thank you for your presence and your attention. And I apologize for the fact that I almost lost my voice in between.